The stock markets in China have been declining, with some erasing the gains of 2018. Right now, a re-emerging story that was thought to not be true makes its way into the headlines again. A huge surge of withdrawals is taking place in China, but it is of course being controlled by banks, regulators, and the complicit mainstream media. Does that sound familiar? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the situation in China, beginning with the markets. You can see that the markets have been declining in China at this time of the past few days, some of which have retraced their steps back into last year. This is particularly evident with the Shenzhen composite. Okay, so if we look at what's happening right now, you can see that Hong Kong is on alert as ATM withdrawals surge. This story is as of February 1st, 2018. Information's coming out of Reuters. So I covered this information when it first came out last year, and I was told that this was not true, the sources were incorrect, and so on. Well, the information is coming out of Reuters. This is a legitimate mainstream media outlet. Okay, now I don't know if 100% of it is true, but that's the information that's coming out. It's now multiple sources reporting this, and we can look into it and see what they are saying. Remember, it's not just some random individual out there speaking on anonymity and everything else. This is information coming out. We're going to share it. Let's get into it here. Cash withdrawals at Hong Kong ATMs have surged, prompting scrutiny from monetary authorities, the banking industry, and police amid media reports that mainland Chinese are withdrawing hundreds of thousands of dollars using up to 50 cards at a time. Does that mean they are all doing that? Does that mean that all of Hong Kong is lined up at ATMs and it's panic and pandemonium? No, it just means that they've seen a surge right now. China has battled to curb capital outflows for years, a move that took effect on January 1st, caps overseas withdrawals using domestic Chinese bank cards. I was talking about this. This is the information I was bringing to you, and I was told that no, that's not happening, that's not true, none of this is real. The gambling hub of Macau last year introduced facial recognition technology at ATMs to target illicit outflows from mainland China, a move that Hong Kong Central Bank told Reuters could increase cash withdrawals in the financial center. All right. Quickly, we need to get through this here. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority declined to provide data on the cash withdrawals at ATMs over the past 3 months, but said that monthly cash withdrawals using mainland bank cards ranged between 2 billion Hong Kong dollars and 6 billion. Okay, it's a fairly significant number throughout 2017, that's for sure. They're aware of media reports about people using multiple mainland cards to withdraw cash at ATMs in Hong Kong, monitoring the situation, and is in discussion with the banking industry and the police about the issue. Okay, so they have acknowledged it, that it is going on. That is a fact. That's the central bank putting out a statement talking about that. Okay, so we can wash away this silly lie that it isn't happening. We can argue about the degree to which it's happening, perhaps, but it is happening. The central bank is even talking about it, okay? Now, right here, they're suggesting there is the reports of 20 billion being withdrawn from the city's ATMs each month. They're saying, no, that's not happening. I don't know the amount. I really don't. But what they're saying here, somewhere between 2 billion and 6 billion of Hong Kong currency being pulled out. Who knows? And that's just going through their systems. What about all of these other cryptos and everything else that's happening today? I have to clarify that we have never seen that number. We don't know where that number comes from. The number of monthly withdrawals actually is very volatile, but it never reached that high a level. So if the individuals that are controlling the system tell you something, usually it's quite the opposite. China's foreign exchange regulator, in its latest move on outflows, capped international withdrawals using domestic bank cards at 100,000 yuan, that's about $15,000 a year, and 10,000 yuan a day. I brought up this issue and was told that I was a liar, that I wasn't telling the truth, that I was controlling information. It's silly. Honestly, it's really silly. They are telling me this information. I'm just reading it. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Okay. This rule could impact withdrawals in Hong Kong. Now think about it. They are capping the withdrawals. Why would they cap them? Because they know that people are pulling money out that way and they can't have it. In recent weeks, Hong Kong media have reported several cases of mainland Chinese being robbed of hundreds of thousands of dollars after withdrawals using multiple ATM cards. So that is supporting evidence about what we're talking about here. And essentially saying that it's not against the law for a person to withdraw cash from ATMs on behalf of others, exposing a potential loophole that could make it hard for authorities to crack down on mass withdrawals. All right. Now, one last thing. This is a very poorly translated article that I found. So if you speak the native language, you can look at it yourself here. But I wanted to talk about this very briefly. I'll read it the way it's said, but I'll make my points. Since the beginning of this year, under the background of banks and other off-balance sheet businesses continuing to be the key regulatory targets, banks have all along adopted the motto of making progress towards stability, strategic restructuring, improving the quality and efficiency, maintaining prudent operations, and steady growth. One of the major directions of the transformation is the fat deposit business. They are very, very fearful about the deposit business. Deposits are key, okay? Because they need that in their banks in order to loan out more. If they want to loan out to different institutions, to different buyers, they need to have those capital deposits, particularly at a time when the market, maybe the government may want to increase the reserve requirements and everything else. If that's the case, then they're going to be in big trouble. I see them as relaxing it probably anytime they're heading towards crisis, usually that's the way it goes. But they ultimately want more and more deposits because of that factor, and that is being talked about today. They're begging, literally begging, for people to deposit more money in the banking system, all the while offering them very little in terms of their, potential profits, when they could, quite frankly, get into something like equities. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just pumping their money into equities, into real estate. Why put money in the bank when they're simply not going to get the returns that they hoped for? What we are seeing today is a simple matter of fact what they are doing to themselves. They've created these crises. They've created a structure in which the people can't win. And you could argue that's being done intentionally. It doesn't matter. All we know is that we can plot this out, put the pieces together, and figure out exactly what they've been doing. And they've been very successful at taking everyone and essentially holding them hostage. That's what's happening right here. They're forcing people into getting into investments. The average person who, let's say 40 years ago, wouldn't have anything, maybe even 50 years ago, wouldn't want anything to do with investments, okay? They would just pay down their mortgages if they could. They would be able to save money in the bank, get some interest off of it. Nothing big. It's boring. It's a boring industry. But since the 80s and beyond, and much more so today, we are seeing the financial world becoming the rock stars, and that's something that's very dangerous. You should not treat politicians, you should not treat those in the financial industry as rock stars, okay? That's not supposed to happen. They're not supposed to be celebrities making front page news for their interesting actions that's, taken place. It's supposed to be boring. Okay? That's the way it should be, but it's not. And we're looking at what's happening here within China. It's just a very small piece of the overall puzzle. I talk about China, I talk about all different countries out there, and I hope you appreciate that I at least try to get into the detail of other countries and different cities around the world where we can bring that information together. If you're in China right now, of course, share your opinions. Have you heard about this on the media? Have you been hearing about it? Have you seen anything? What are you experiencing today? If you're in Hong Kong or if you're in the mainland, I want to know if you've heard anything. Maybe not even necessarily seen anything, just heard anything. Or perhaps if you have other reports, you're not located in China at all, but if you've heard other reports of this, bring that information here. We need to share that. It's very, very important. Post it in the comments section so we can go through that. I talked about this before. It's come up again, and the central bank is even acknowledging the existence and the pattern that has presented itself. So that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to hear the truth, give me a thumbs up. If you want to be lied to, if you love the mainstream media, you can give me a thumbs down, and I would appreciate that too, so that I know where you stand. Last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can actually flip through these books. If you go over to Amazon, there's a look inside feature. It's going to allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care. If you're interested, just wanted to throw this in, interested in the audiobook version of Global Economic Collapse, if you're not interested in reading the book, if you want to know, basically have something to listen to in the car or in your headphones, this is a good way to get that information in. Many people asked me for that, for the audiobook version, so I recorded that. You can get it at themoneygps.com. That's all. Take care.